In August of 1972, a man left Canton, Ohio at 4 in the morning on a Harley-Davidson shovelhead with a bedroll strapped to the sissy bar, $40 folded in his boot, and a paper map of 5 states in his tank bag. 1,200 miles of two-lane road lay between his driveway and a small town in the Black Hills of South Dakota. He had no phone because nobody on Earth had one. He had no support vehicle. If the machine broke, he would fix it where it broke, with the tools under the seat. The trip took him 5 days. He'd been looking forward to it since February. This August, hundreds of thousands of people will make that same journey to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. And by the best counts, something like 4 out of 10 of their motorcycles will arrive strapped to a trailer. Thousands more will fly into Rapid City and rent a Harley by the day, GPS mounted on the bars, hotel booked 11 months out, roadside assistance 1 phone call away. Getting to Sturgis has never been easier, faster, safer, or more comfortable than it is right now. And the men who made the ride the old way, the ones still with us, and there are plenty watching this, will tell you, almost to a man, the same strange thing. The best part of Sturgis was the part that no longer exists. Not the rally, the ride, the getting there. Both of those things are true at the same time. And tonight, we're going back to find out why. Back to the two-lane, in August, in the 1970s, when the pilgrimage was the whole point. To understand what the ride to Sturgis was, you have to understand the America it crossed, because that country doesn't fully exist anymore either. The interstate system was still being stitched together in the early 70s. Great stretches of the Route West ran on the old federal highways, 2 lanes of patched asphalt through towns with 1 stoplight, 1 diner, and 1 gas station whose owner came out to look at your bike. After 1974, the whole nation drove under the federal 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, which meant distance was measured honestly, in time. A big day was 500 miles and 10 hours in the saddle. Gas cost 30-some cents a gallon at the decade's start, and even after the 1973 oil crisis sent prices jumping and wrapped lines around the block, a motorcycle sipped past the suffering sedans like the smartest machine in America. And the machines themselves demanded a relationship. A shovelhead, a Sportster, a second-hand panhead rebuilt in a basement. I've made a whole film about what owning those machines was like. Carried points to set, chains to adjust, and a toolkit that lived under the seat because you would need it. There was no cell coverage because there were no cells. There was no GPS because there were no satellites for civilians. There was a paper map, a penciled route, and your own 2 hands. That's the world. Now meet the man crossing it. Our rider from Canton, call him what every pack had, the steady one, started this trip in winter. Vacation days requested in March and guarded like treasure. Money set aside a paycheck at a time because the trip ran on cash. Gas money, diner money, a thin margin for the parts he hoped he wouldn't need. And in the last week before departure, the machine got the full liturgy, performed with championship focus. Oil, chain, points, tires, red like X-rays. The top end listened to with the concentration of a safecracker, because that engine was about to be asked for 1,200 miles in August heat, and out on the prairie there is no dealership. There is you. The saddlebags got packed like lifeboats, spark plugs, a master link, a clutch cable, electrical tape, wire. The bedroll and rain suit lashed to the sissy bar with a geometry that wouldn't shift at 70. Every ounce debated, because every ounce rode with him for 2 weeks. And the night before, the pack gathered, 4 bikes, 6, 8, at a diner or somebody's garage. Coffee, route talk, the unspoken sorting. Who leads? Who sweeps? Always the best mechanic, never an accident, and whose machine everybody was quietly worried about. Some packs were 4 friends off one shop floor. Some wouldn't fully form until a gas stop in Minnesota, when strangers headed the same direction merged and stayed merged for 800 miles, because their pace matched and their company wore well. Then to bed early, where nobody slept. The night before a long ride is Christmas Eve with gasoline. Day 1 rolled out before the heat, and the rhythm set in. The rhythm every man who's done it still carries somewhere in his hands. A peanut tank meant stopping every 100 and change miles, and every stop was an event. Small town stations, a bell hose, an owner squinting at the loaded bikes. Westbound in August, which meant one thing, and he'd ask it, "Sturgis?" And you'd nod, and he'd tell you about the pack that came through yesterday, or the one his brother rode with in 1968. That one word at 100 gas stops across 5 states was the pilgrimage announcing itself to the country it crossed. The wave came constantly out there, low, 2 fingers, exchanged with every machine running the other way, dozens of times a day in August, a rolling census of the migration. And beneath the wave, the law. You did not pass a broken-down rider, ever. A bike on the shoulder pulled every passing motorcycle over like gravity, strangers kneeling together in the gravel, offering the spare plug, the master link, the third set of hands, the ride to the next town's parts counter. Men made friends on those shoulders that lasted 40 years. Somebody in your riding circle met somebody exactly that way. Ask around. Nights were a $5 motel with the bikes backed up to the door, or a fairground, a field, a town park where the sheriff had watched Sturgis traffic every August of his career and mostly asked you to be gone by 8. Dinner was a diner counter, the pack filling the stools in road-dusted denim. And if the phone booth outside worked, a collect call home. Made it to Albert Lee, bikes running good, tell the kids. Mark the small things, because the small things are the era. The paper map refolded at every stop, going soft at the creases. The cash counted in a motel room. The postcard mailed from a drugstore rack. None of it mattered much at the time. All of it, it turns out, was the whole point. Somewhere past the Missouri River, every account agrees. The East lets go of you. The farms stretch. The towns thin. The sky becomes the biggest thing you have ever ridden underneath. And a man on a motorcycle out there is exactly as small as he actually is, a feeling somewhere between terror and church. Then the countdown begins, and if you rode it, you're already smiling. The wall drug signs, hundreds of miles of hand-painted billboards ticking down to a drugstore in a town of 800 people, free ice water, 5-cent coffee, mileposts built by a comedian. The Badlands rise up, 100 square miles of the moon, pink and gray and shimmering like a griddle. And you ride through with your jaw slack inside your helmet, if you wore one, which in South Dakota, in that era, an adult legally didn't have to, and plenty didn't. And then, the moment. The one every single account of this ride arrives at. The one men describe 50 years later with their voices changing. Far ahead, low on the western horizon, a dark line that isn't cloud. The Black Hills, named by the Lakota for exactly how they look from exactly where you're sitting. An island of pine-dark mountains floating on the gold prairie, still 60 miles off. That line meant you'd made it. Every roadside repair, every rained-on afternoon, every collect call, all of it was for the moment that dark line came up over your front fender. Men have compared it to a sailor sighting shore. They are not exaggerating. You'd been at sea for a week. The hills paid the whole debt at once. Spearfish Canyon's limestone walls closing overhead. The Needles Highway threading granite spires through tunnels barely wider than your handlebars. Iron Mountain Road stacking its pigtail bridges like a dare. After 1,000 miles of straight, the best riding roads in America, handed to you as a welcome gift. And then down out of the pines, into a little town of a few thousand people whose name you'd been saying all year. Rolling into Sturgis in the early 70s meant rolling into a gathering of about 3,500 riders, a crowd you could walk through in an afternoon, nodding at faces you'd passed on the road for 3 days. The center of that world was the city park, where you camped for free, rolled in under the cottonwoods, dropped your bedroll among hundreds of machines whose owners had all, every single one, done exactly what you'd just done. The license plates were the guest book, and men walked the rows reading them. Ohio, Ontario, Georgia, Washington. No trailers, the rare one drew stairs. The parking lot was the credential. Because here is the thing the modern rally, for all its magnificent scale, cannot manufacture. And the reason the men of that era go quiet when they talk about it. Everyone in that park had been filtered by the road. The ride was the membership exam, and the whole town was full of people who'd passed it. You could sit at any fire, borrow any tool, join any run up Vanaker Canyon. The talk was routes and breakdowns, and where the patrol ran thick, the shared language of people who had all crossed the same country the same hard way. Plenty had crossed it 2 up, and the women on those back seats had made every mile the riders made and earned the same seat at the fire. Some came back the next year on machines of their own. The road recruited people that way. The rally itself did its business. The races at the Jackpine Gypsies tracks, on land the club owned and still owns. Main Street filling with parked iron, a block at a time. The whole world I've documented in my other Sturgis films. But ask the veterans for their sharpest memory, and it's rarely the rally. It's the park at night. Hundreds of cooling engines ticking in the dark. Fires, laughter, 1,200 miles behind you, and every one of them accounted for. So, what happened? Because nobody banned the pilgrimage. No law was passed against riding to Sturgis. The ride didn't die of a wound. It died of convenience, one comfortable option at a time. The interstates finished, and the 2-lane withered. You could suddenly cross the same 5 states in half the time, seeing 1/10 as much. The machines got better, dramatically, honestly better, until the toolkit under the seat became a formality, and the roadside brotherhood lost its recruiting office because nobody breaks down anymore. The trailer arrived, first as a curiosity, then as an option, then as normal, until, by recent counts, some 4 in 10 machines at the rally never crossed the country under their own power at all. The fly and ride package completed the arc. Sturgis, deliverable to your schedule, 11 months in advance, by credit card. And understand, this is the part that matters. No individual man did anything wrong. Comfort is not a crime. Some of those trailered bikes belong to men with 50 Sturgis runs in their bones and knees that have paid for every one. They've earned any ease they want, and no one at this channel will ever say otherwise. Each choice, one man at a time, was completely reasonable. But the mathematics changed. The road had been a filter, and the filter had built the brotherhood, the certain knowledge that any stranger at any fire had crossed the country the same hard way you had. When the filter became optional, the park full of the self-selected became, gradually, a city of the self-transported. Nobody decided it. Nobody announced it. The rally got bigger every single year, and the pilgrimage quietly became a trip. Here's the strange comfort at the end of this story, and it's the part I'd leave you with. The road is still there, all of it. The 2 lanes still run west through the 1 stoplight towns. The wall-drug signs still count down the prairie. The Badlands still shimmer. The dark line of the hills still rises off the gold horizon exactly the way it rose in 1972. And Spearfish Canyon does not know what year it is. Everything about the old ride still exists except the necessity. The hard way is now a choice, sitting there on the map, available to any rider willing to pencil a route, pack a bag, and take a week that could be a weekend. Every August, some still choose it. Not many, as a fraction. Enough, as a brotherhood. So what riding to Sturgis really looked like in the 1970s? A route drawn by hand at a kitchen table in February. Cash in a boot, tools under the seat, and no help coming that you didn't earn on a gravel shoulder. A gas station question. Sturgis? Asked 100 times across 5 states. A dark line on the horizon that felt like sighting land. And a free city park full of the only people on earth who knew exactly what you'd just done because every one of them had just done it too. The rally got bigger every year after. The ride never got better than it was right then. And the road into Sturgis is the same road. It's only the riders who choose differently now. Front Row Tonight belongs to the men who made the run any year, any distance. Tell me your ride to Sturgis story. The year, the route, the machine, who rode with you, and the breakdown. Because there is always a breakdown, and those are the best stories in motorcycling. Everyone else, the longest ride you ever made to get somewhere that mattered. 1,200 miles of comment section. Kickstands up.